The first competitive results of the new standard format are here. What do they hold, and what cards are making the most waves? The card that put the most copies into the top 8 is going to shock you, but I'll tell you straight up, it's a 6-mana Planeswalker, one that when I put in the comment section of my videos, people were very, very low on, and it's, yeah, wow, this is a head scratcher for sure, but let's get right into it. It is the standard challenge on Magic the Gathering Online. We're reviewing the results for February 11th, 2023, MTGO, the old school arena, the boomer Magic machine. But it is a competitive event. These are people playing for prizes and yeah, possible seats in future qualifying events, all kinds of good stuff. They're putting their money on the line to play some standard Magic. What do they put in their deck? And the winner is Grixis. It has no new cards. Well, that was underwhelming. Even in the sideboard. Right on. All right, the winner you hate to see it, the winner is Grixis, no new cards. The second place winner in our hearts is Portal to Atraxia, Sanctuary Warden, Atraxa Grand Unifier. It's Invoke Justice. So we've got a sweet Invoke Justice deck in second place, and we wondered if those Titan of Industries would, you know, make way for Atraxa, if Atraxa was significantly better than Titan in these spots. It looks like at least here the answer is yes, as we have an Atraxa, 3 Atraxas in the deck as a primary reanimation target, along with the Portals and the Wardens. Also down here we have a Nahiri the Unforgiving. It's in Phyrexian, but I believe one of the abilities is plus to discard a card and draw a card. So another way to get your big monster into the graveyard for Invoke Justice to bring it back. And then let's check the sideboard. We got anything in the sideboard? Nope. That's it. The new cards, Atraxa, Nahiri. But cool to see them. Good to see it. Oh my gosh, hold on. Did they even change their lands? Did the Grixis deck even... It didn't even add the new lands. It didn't even add Darkslick Shores. Oh, I'm dying. Invoke Despair. Such a good name for a card, right? All right, next deck, third place. We have the first instance of a deck that we're going to see a good amount of, and the card that put the most copies in the top 8, I'm going to jump right to it. It's the Eternal Wanderer. The Eternal Wanderer. This card is the 6-mana Planeswalker, 5 loyalty. The 0 is a 2/2 samurai with double strike. The +1 is you exile a creature or artifact and return to the battlefield at the end of its controller, at the beginning of the end step of its controller's next end step. I'm good at cards. The -4 though is like a tragic arrogance type of effect. You choose one of their creatures, you choose one of your creatures, sacrifice all the others, give them a little token or something. Also making its way into this deck is Mirix. Mirix is a land that can crank out a few little Phyrexian critters, so kind of cool to see that around. A little strange to not see any of the Mishra's Foundries, but those are expensive to use, and you usually want them in multiples. And Roadside Reliquary is kind of where it's at for these big white decks. These super value-y pile mono white decks. By the way, the other card that got the most play, they're really close in numbers, is Ossification. And this is the new 1 in a white enchantment aura that enchants a basic land, and when it does, you exile a creature or a planeswalker opponent controls until this leaves the battlefield. Another really cheap and sweet removal spell. So yeah, these white decks were doing great at the end of the last format. They continue to do the thing here. Not a ton of new cards, but Destroy Evil kind of making an impact there. You don't see a bunch of these days, but for the most part, yeah, it's so far we've got the Reanimator deck with a few new cards, we've got the Grixis deck, and then we have this mono white deck. But there's a lot more mono white where that came from. But first up, Soldiers. Did Soldiers change at all? Coming in 4th place. Well, there are 2 frontliners and now 2 Skrelv Defector Mites. Is that it? Did they add the new lands? They did add the Seachrome Coasts, which is really good for that deck as well. Nice smooth curve out. I mean, the mana for the 2-color aggro decks is so good right now, between the kind of the Innistrad lands, the and the new enters the battlefield untapped if you have 3 or less lands. Like, as long as you're friendly colors, like you can play really good like Gruul Rakdos and blue-white mana. It's nice to see. You love to see it. But Skrull Defector Might sneaking into soldiers. Looks like that's the only thing sneaking into soldiers. Then we've got the 5th place deck. This is going to be the big white deck again. A few different choices on cards, but we got 3 Ossification and 4 copies of the Eternal Wanderer. Then we move down here to the 6th place. Guess what? Same deck. 3 Ossification, 4 Eternal Wanderers, and then we move down here to 7th place and we get 3 Ossification and 2 Eternal Wanderers. Same deck. You guys are definitely sensing a trend here that the big white deck is far from gone. It's kind of amazing that Grixis deck was able to cut through these, because I found that matchup really good for the white decks. In 8th place, well, we've got the Portal to Phyrexia Atraxa Grand Unifier list back with 2 Nahiri, the Unforgivings, in the pile. Looking through the sideboard, no other new cards there. So far, just in the top 8, the decks that rose to the top, we're looking at a few very powerful new cards added to already super strong existing shells, and of course extremely mid-range. No aggro to be found except for one lonely soldiers gamer who is trying out the Defector Might, and I'd be curious to know if the Defector Might was good in that way. I think that what was being run in that spot before was some kind of a protection spell to like guard your Harbin or Brutal Cathar, and it was very much like Lauren's Escape was being used, Slip Out the Back was being used, so now they just turn that into a creature so that they have 36 creatures and 24 lands like a good Thalia deck should. Moving into 9th place, though, there are some more cards on the way. Wait, but that's 3 Eternal Wanderer, 4 Ossification. Let's try 10th place. So this is where the other Infect starts to show up. So this is a green-white Infect deck. I'm going to keep saying Infect. You can say Toxic, you can say Poison. But we see Jawbone Duelist, we see the Defector Might, we see the Bloated Contaminator, the Rot Priest, we see Slaughter Singer making it in there. So yeah, this is a deck loaded with new cards that finished just outside the top 8. 1 March of Burgeoning Life, not going too heavy on that strategy. Valorous Stance, a pretty cool inclusion. Tyvar Stand making it in as a 4 of. So a pretty cool aggressive little deck. They do have a Johnny Sleeper Agent in the sideboard, which is a card I've been waiting for to get more play. Viral Spawning is an interesting one, a good way to grind, just making 3/3s with Toxic, I guess. Didn't expect that card to see play. Then we go down here to 11th place and we're doing it again. So a lot of the same cards, very similar strategy. Homestead Courage, up to a 4 of here, 4 Skrells, 4 Duelists here. This one does not run the Slaughter Singer, which I thought was an interesting card to remove from the deck, as it would have been like an auto include in a green-white poison deck that I had considered. And then as we move along, we get, you know, more soldiers, and we get mono blue, and yep, no new cards there. But it is the first results. A lot of people didn't have the time to grind out the new cards, or they possibly were unable to get the cards. So card availability issues from the loaning services on MTGO is sometimes an issue early. We see mono red trying to pop up down here. That looks like it has no new cards. So yeah, we are awaiting to still see the full impact of the new set. But one thing I know I'm going to have to try in the very near future is Atraxa in the Invoke Justice deck, and we're going to have to try out the Eternal Wanderer in the big white deck, because it looks like the people who rose to the top really put this like this card for a 6-mana Planeswalker. This is a lot of 6-mana Planeswalker in these decks. So that's one we're going to have to look at closer. Hope you enjoyed this look at the standard challenge. There's another one tomorrow. I might release a video on that as well. And let me know if you enjoy these meta review videos. Thank you for watching. You're cool.